She gave birth once, then again, and again. Not because she chose to, but because stopping was never her decision. Some queens recorded more than 15 births. One endured nearly 20. This isn't a story about motherhood. It's about what happened when royal duty refused to let a woman stop. Royal marriages were not love stories. They were contracts between dynasties. A queen's value wasn't measured in wisdom or authority, but in heirs. When children died, the pressure returned, and the cycle began again. These are the queens whose bodies became instruments of empire. For queens, force was rarely spoken aloud. It didn't arrive as commands or punishment. It lived inside expectation. Royal succession depended on survival, not sentiment. Dynasties rose or collapsed based on bloodlines. A queen could not simply decide she was done. Her marriage existed for one purpose: continuity. Infant mortality was high. Many children never reached adulthood. When a child died, the response was not mourning alone. It was replacement. Courts did not ask whether a queen had recovered. They asked when the next pregnancy would come. No law needed to be written. No threat needed to be voiced. Everyone already understood the role. And so the pregnancies continued. Maria Karolina of Austria. Maria Karolina of Austria represents the most extreme, reliably documented case in European royal history. Over just 2 decades, she gave birth 18 times. Pregnancy was not an event. It was a condition that rarely ended. Between births, recovery was brief and incomplete. The expectation of the next child returned before her strength did. Many of her children died young. Each loss intensified pressure for another birth. Grief did not slow the cycle. It accelerated it. Her body became a site of dynastic urgency. As long as it functioned, it was expected to produce again. This is as close as history comes to truly non-stop childbirth for a reigning queen. Maria Theresa. Maria Theresa ruled one of Europe's largest empires. She also spent much of her adult life pregnant. Over 19 years, she gave birth 16 times, often with little pause between pregnancies. Her children were not only heirs, they were diplomatic instruments. Each birth carried political weight. Each marriage arrangement extended her influence across Europe. Pregnancy and governance were not treated as competing roles. They were expected to coexist. Stopping was never considered a strategic option. Her body was essential infrastructure for the state. Eleanor of Castile. Eleanor of Castile's story shows how endurance crossed into danger. She gave birth at least 16 times, often while traveling long distances across medieval Europe. Some pregnancies occurred during military campaigns, others while crossing harsh terrain with minimal care. Rest was rarely prioritized. Survival was uncertain. Yet the expectation remained unchanged. Her safety mattered less than succession. Her body followed power wherever it moved. Charlotte of Mecklenburg-Strelitz. Queen Charlotte is remembered for stability and respectability. What history often softens is the physical reality beneath that image. Over 21 years, she gave birth 15 times. Nearly her entire adult life unfolded in a cycle of pregnancy, recovery, and repetition. As political instability grew around her, her body was expected to remain constant. This was not treated as extraordinary. It was simply her responsibility. Anna of Bohemia and Hungary. By the time we reach Anna of Bohemia and Hungary, frequency itself becomes normalized. She gave birth 15 times over roughly 2 decades. Court records do not describe this as excessive. They describe it as productive. Health was secondary to output. Recovery mattered only if it enabled the next birth. For queens like Anna, there was no defined endpoint, only continuation. Isabella of Angoulême. Isabella of Angoulême shows how reproductive duty followed queens across lives. She gave birth repeatedly during her first marriage. When that marriage ended, the expectation did not. She remarried. and the cycle resumed. Across 2 political unions, Isabella produced 14 children. Different courts, same demands. Her body was never released from its obligation. Philippa of Hainaut. Philippa of Hainaut represents the lower boundary of what historians still consider near-continuous childbirth. Over roughly 20 years, she gave birth 12 to 13 times, even during periods of war and instability. Chroniclers praised her resilience. They admired her composure. What they did not question was the cost. Her endurance was framed as virtue, not sacrifice. These women were not reckless. They were not chasing legacy. They were fulfilling a role that did not allow refusal. Royal power did not protect them. It consumed them. Their crowns offered authority, but no control over their own bodies. They were queens in name and instruments in practice. History remembers their children. It rarely remembers what it cost to produce them.